All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. Gonna be a little bit different of an episode this week, just because Matt is currently on a trip, but he did some pre-recordings of his Cowboys, and then he talks a little bit about the UH basketball, uh, winning the Diamond Head Classic for the first time this weekend on Jovon McClanahan's buzzer beater to win the final. So it was a great game. Um, Matt will definitely get into the details. He was there. I was only watching it on TV, but I'll get into some other stuff. He's going to talk about his Cowboys um, pretty passionately. So I will go ahead and cover some of the other topics. So main one, obviously, I'm going to talk about Dolphins. We got to start with them. So they played the Packers. They were at home on Christmas Day and lost that game 26-20. They scored 20 points in the first half and then went absolutely cold in the second half. Obviously, the big storyline of the day, or of the game at least, was Tua. Was looking good through I mean, two quarters, three quarters, you could say. But the fourth quarter, he had a chance to take the lead, win the game there. But he threw three straight interceptions on consecutive drives to end the game. So Dolphins dropped down. They're 8-7 now. Still have a chance to get into the playoffs, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So let's just talk about the game first. Um, they had their explosive plays, one to Tyreek, one to Jalen. The Jalen one, just like get him the ball in space, and he just outran the whole defense. But the offense was flowing; it was looking pretty good. Um, Still would have liked to see them stick to the run a little bit more. I know the Packers did a really good job of stopping the run, but if you could get to about 20 carries, I mean, they were averaging 4.5 yards a touch, not terrible. Um, so that was one thing, I would have liked to see a little bit more. I thought they did. Um, I think when they run the ball efficiently, they do pretty well. Um, but in this game, I know everyone's gonna kill Tua, right? But too many mistakes, and Tua didn't play well in the fourth quarter. I will get to that. Um, but before I do, I think there were just too many mistakes, penalties, especially. I mean, 8 penalties for 62 yards, a lot of holdings, illegal shifts, things like that were kind of killing drives. Um, and then when they had momentum and a chance to tack on uh more points, right? Right before the half, Mostert fumbles, gives Rogers the ball right back, and makes it a 7 point game. And then, to start the second half, Rogers comes back, ties the game, uh, at 20, and then they have a chance to get points on the board, right? Field goal missed. And yeah, that one was a big miss there. Defense held it down though. I thought the Miami defense, as poorly as they have kind of been playing, played a really good second half. Um, they let up 10 points, or sorry, 13 points, but two of them were off short fields for the off of Tua's picks. So I thought they held their own pretty well, honestly, in that second half. So maybe they found some keys to their success there in that second half. Looking forward to them continuing that, because I think they're gonna now have to lean on the defense in these next two games against New England and against the Jets. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I thought the defense stepped up. Uh, Play calling was not bad for the most part. I thought, Mike did a pretty good job there. But let's get into Tua. So, pretty uncharacteristic of Tua with these picks that he's been throwing. Or he threw three picks on Sunday, and just really uncharacteristic. I mean, he only had five picks going into the game, through ended up with three, right? So obviously he's not been playing his best stretch of football. He bounced back in the Buffalo game pretty well, I thought, right? But his numbers have been dipping a little bit the past four games. Obviously they lost four in a row now. Um, but the turnovers, I mean, that just can't happen, right? Uh, the first pick he threw, just a bad throw, completely sailed Tyreek Hill. Um, Second pick, you could tell there's definitely a communication issue there with Tua, right? And the last pick, once again, just a bad ball. Um, it was kind of a mix of a misread of the coverage and then a bad ball as well, right? The the corner was dropping into coverage, and then uh he had Tyreek on a slant underneath, but the corner dropped off. He was trying to get the ball to Mike Gesicki in the corner, but it was not. He didn't throw it. He didn't layer the ball enough over the corner, which is it's just something interesting because obviously we know Tua doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the most athletic guy, but usually he's pretty accurate. The throws over the middle, hardly ever see him miss a simple, 10-yard in route to Tyreek there. That's one of their staple plays they've been running all year. Um, and then the second one to Mostert. Just two guys not on the same page there. And the third one, yeah, once again, not showing his accuracy. He usually will layer it to the sideline a little bit better, and he's smart enough to know that you'd want to miss high in that situation, right? Because you have that corner underneath. Uh, so it's just really uncharacteristic things. But he didn't play well in this game at all, and he's gonna have to. Well, we'll see if he plays. First of all, that was kind of the other big story that came out this week. So Tua now back in concussion protocol. Pretty interesting. There was a play that was circulating on Twitter, right? Uh, it's a play that happened, towards the end of the second quarter, and he throws the ball to Durham Smythe, but he gets tackled from behind. He kind of gets wrapped up, and the defender wraps him up from behind, and it kind of turns him, so he slams the back of his head against the turf again. Right, really similar hit that he took in the Cincinnati game, and so I think there's some cause for concern there. But it's going to be interesting because now, if he does have a concussion, I I mean, there's just so many things um that come into play here, right? So first of all, uh with it being Tua of all people, right? The NFL had changed protocols this year because of the hit that Tua took in the Buffalo game, right? And so maybe I just think it's weird how the spotter didn't say anything after he took a hit, but like they said, yesterday, Tua didn't come out and say he had felt any different or had any concussion like symptoms, didn't display any um, until Monday. So I just think that's a little interesting. But if he was playing a little bit concussed during the game, I'm not excusing his play, but obviously a concussion is a thing that affects the brain, right? So um, you could see it maybe being a little justified by some of the routine plays, at least, that he'll usually make. but we'll have to wait on the official report because he's currently in protocol now. Uh, but moving forward, what this means, right, is they might have to go with Teddy moving forward the rest of the next two games. Uh, a lot of people are telling Tua to shut it down, consider retiring. I will just say that he has a family now, so he has to think of that, uh, put that into perspective. But I think I heard Aaron Rodgers speak on this earlier today. So if there's a lot more research now that's out, right? A lot more research that's out now about the dangers of playing while concussed and things that can happen to the brain, at least now more than say 10, 20 years ago. And so if I'm to, I listen to the doctors, listen to, my family, talk to my family, do its best for himself, his longevity, his life after football, right? Because we know CTE and all the dangers of, taking those hits uh, can have an effect to your quality of life after football. So I'm not saying he should retire. I'm not saying he shouldn't. I don't know enough. I'm not educated enough on that. But I think what he needs to do is talk to his family and speak about, discuss what's probably best for them in the long term, right? So we'll have to see. I'm sure he wants to keep playing. We'll see if anything can be done. Maybe he learns how to get tackled differently. I don't really know. Uh, but you know, we'll have to see what happens because if they move forward, so the rest of the season, if at least the regular season, if Teddy is playing, I think Miami can get into the playoffs. I think Teddy is good enough to get them, one of these wins. Hopefully they win out. But I think they can get one win, and just hoping that the Jets lose to Seattle because Seattle is in win now mode. Mike White is coming back, but he's pretty. I think he's still pretty banged up. He's just gonna try to gut it out. Because that team is not gonna win with Zach Wilson. At least right now. And so I think Miami has a chance, although at this point they can only get the seventh seed if Teddy's gonna play, against Kansas City in Kansas City. I think that's asking a lot out of Teddy. Hopefully Tua will be back by then. But we'll see. Who knows? Dolphins might shut him down for the rest of the year. Um, and it's kind of unfortunate because Tua had been playing such a good stretch. It was like almost a no-brainer. He was gonna get that second contract from the Dolphins. He probably wouldn't get the max money like the other guys, but um, I thought he played well enough. He'd probably get a decent contract at least, but we'll have to see. Um, we will definitely have to see how the rest of the week plays out. So yeah. Um, okay. Well, in other news, Matt talked his football. Other than that, not a ton of football outside of that I want to talk about. I mean, the Chargers clinched. Um, and I think in the NFC, the Giants are still in along with Washington at the moment. So the NFC, there's still two open playoff spots. AFC has one more. So a couple games could be pretty important here coming down the stretch. And so win now mode for a lot of these teams. Mm, yeah, I don't really need to talk about football. Matt's gonna do a deep dive into his Cowboys. Um, just a couple things I wanted to highlight across the other sports though. So, uh, baseball first of all, right? The last time we talked, Carlos Correa was gonna be a Giant. That flipped immediately. Now he's gonna be a Met. So really unfortunate for Giants and Giants fans because they made three big pushes at marquee guys, right? Trey Turner, Aaron Judge, and Carlos Correa, and they ended up getting none of them. So they had a lot of cap money just lying around. They lost Rodon as well. So they're unfortunate for them. Kind of they don't get the big signing that they kind of wanted, right? And then Aaron Judge was named the 16th captain, I believe, Matt said. And so big accomplishment there. I think it's well deserved though. He'll be around for a long time. And he just has the mentality and personality. Uh excuse me. To be the captain of the New York Yankees. So happy for him there. And then it was a good just last topic I want to cover before we get into Matt's part is basketball. So some pretty good Christmas games, but I have to just say, I think Aaron Gordon just has the dunk of the year. Um, Dunked on Landry Shamet. It, I mean, you remember why now he's the he was so close to being a two-time NBA slam dunk champion. I thought he should have had one against Zach Levine, one of those, or that first time. But you know, um, Denver, I just want to say looks really good. Jokic, uh, should be the MVP again for the third straight year because the things he can do is just unreal. He means so much to that team, and Denver looking really really tough. I think if Aaron Gordon is gonna play as well as he did as that third scorer, they still have Michael Porter as well. Any of those two guys on any given night could be that third scorer that they need. And Jamal Murray, I mean, his pick and roll with Jokic that they run, it's like I think that's the most one of the most unstoppable plays in all of basketball right now. And especially when it comes into the playoffs, that pick and roll, they're going to operate out of that a lot. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But NBA is looking good. It's still so close in the West. And it might I really think now at this point it's Christmas now. It's still like this. We're not seeing teams separate out in the West. I think it's gonna be close the whole year. So every single game is gonna matter now. And I think that's just good for the NBA. It makes the regular season more interesting. But yeah, it was a good week of football. I'll get back to we'll get to Matt's part here now. But yeah, I hope everyone had a good Christmas and hope everyone stays safe this New Year's Eve. Be smart, don't drink and drive, obviously. And yeah, thank you everyone. We'll get into Matt's part right after this.
All right, guys. I think you guys all know by this point in the podcast that if Dallas Cowboys play good on a holiday, it's a pretty good holiday for me. And what I can say is they did it. They won now on Thanksgiving and now Christmas Eve. So with that, I can actually say, how about them Dallas Cowboys? Yes. You don't know how good that feels for me because I don't want to enjoy a bad Christmas. And especially this Christmas, playing the Eagles, two teams that are going to the playoffs. We all know this is a big game. Um, Probably the stakes were diminished a little bit because Dallas did not take care of business last week against Jacksonville. But regardless, it's a rivalry game. Both teams do not like each other. And yeah, it's just pure hate with these two teams. And this game was just, from a Cowboys fan perspective, just stress, stress 100% throughout the whole game. And it couldn't have started any worse, really. I mean, Dallas wins the toss, they defer, no problem there. But first drive, Gardner Minshew, you know, maybe showing why, hey, he was a starter in this league before, comes out, gets AJ Brown on a double move against none other than Trayvon Diggs, gets beat, ends up settling, or excuse me, Philadelphia ends up settling for a field goal. And then lo and behold, Dak Prescott comes right back, and throws a pick six. 10-0 right out of the gates. And that is just not a good start. Not a good start. And I'll get into a little bit more about Dak Prescott, but we're already in a hole. The offense then, finally starts to get the rhythm going. And then from there, it was really a shootout because both teams could really do anything at will, I would say, on the offensive side of the ball. Um, so let's start with that. Let's start with that for Dallas. So my takeaways from this game is let's start with none other than the man, Kellen Moore. He's the mastermind behind the game plan, the strategy, the play calling, obviously. And, we always analyze him after each game. And he was, to me, not very good. Not very good. And my two reasonings are this. Let's start with this. So, Kellen Moore, I don't know what it is about him, but I think this is every offensive coordinator's tendencies, right? You come out, your first 14, 15 plays are basically scripted. Like you already know, I'm going to run these plays to start the game, get some momentum. This is what we're going to do to establish the flow of the game. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, every 1st and 10, we are calling a dive up the middle. And Philadelphia knew exactly what was coming. Now, explain to me, if I keep getting stuffed on the same play, why do I keep calling it on the exact same situation? Like, I'm happy that he wants to establish the run, right? We had 31 carries. That'll work. That's a good balance, 31 to 35 passes. We're a little bit over, but for the most part, we're pretty balanced. But you don't just keep calling the same run play over and over. Like, what do I always say? Get Tony Pollard to the edge, right? He had some success getting in the flat. Even Zeke, he had a nice run to the outside. So if you keep that in mind, that's how you attack and establish a ground game. You don't establish a ground game by running up the middle and getting stopped, and now you're in 2nd and long. And then that puts pressure on your quarterback to make a play. And with a quarterback that's throwing picks every single game at this point, that's a recipe for disaster. So you can't be doing that. And then when things are going well, this is my second problem with Kellen Moore. He tries to get a little too cute, right? The defense gets a turnover. We're feeling good, but we're moving the ball at this point. We're still moving the ball. This is in the second quarter. And we call it Cavante Turpin in the game, which I got excited about. He's very explosive. But you call a throwback reverse pass and Dak gets sacked. I mean, that just kills the momentum. We ended up scoring on that drive, but as a fan, and we got lucky too, first off, because it was a 4th down. We don't get the 4th down conversion, but T.Y. Hilton made some big plays in this game. That was one big play he made, getting a pass interference to extend that drive. But in the beginning of the drive, you put yourself in a 2nd and 20. Like, if you're going to take a shot, it's a play action, right? To me, you're going to take a play action, you're going to run a go route with Michael Gallup, or you attack down the seams with Dalton Schultz or CD. But you don't call this long play that takes so much time to develop when your offense is really in a groove at this point. And that's the thing that just frustrates me about Kellen Moore. It's like when you want him to do something, he just throws something at you that you don't expect, or he does the same thing over and over again. So, it's the life of a Cowboy fan. We have to deal with this mediocrity as our OC. So this needs to change to me. Um, I was very frustrated last week with the play calling. Still frustrated again. I just don't understand the I guess you could say the tendencies that he tends to just keep staying in. So that's a problem. But at this point, we've got 2 games to fix that. 2 games to fix that. So I really hope to see some improvement on that side from Kellen Moore in terms of a play caller. But let's move to the players here on the offensive side of the ball. So I mentioned T.Y. Hilton, right? We signed him a couple weeks ago. He didn't play last week, was just kind of getting his feet uh, warm last week. He was inactive, but this was his first game. Not really expecting too much. He's a 33-year-old, just coming in off the streets, and we just need him to make a couple plays here and there. And to me, I counted 2 plays that were critical plays. The first one is what I just mentioned. It wasn't a catch, but it was a savvy move by T.Y. Hilton against Darius Slay. You could argue he's the best corner in the league at this point, but he draws a penalty on 4th down, which was huge because that leads to a touchdown for us. And the second one, oh my goodness, this is like the play of the game. You could argue we're backed up, 3rd and 30. We need a score, and he catches the long ball, 52-yard bomb. That's just unreal. Unreal to me. I mean, that's exactly what you need. And it ends up setting up a CeeDee Lamb touchdown to give us the lead. So you got TY in there. He makes a couple nice plays. That's what we're gonna need. I'm not expecting TY Hilton to be Colts TY Hilton, to have 10 catches, 100 yards every single game. That's not his job. We got another guy that wears number 88, whose job is to do that. But if T.Y. Hilton can make plays on 3rd downs, get key conversions, just be a safety blanket for Dak, and make a couple plays here and there, that's all I can ask for. And so far, a great start. And, we can only expect things to get better for him as he gets more comfortable in this offense and in the couple weeks leading up to the playoffs. So a good start for T.Y. Hilton. I'm thrilled with his performance. And the second guy, oh my goodness, CeeDee Lamb, Mr. 88. He wears that number for a reason in Dallas. And he showed why. 10 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. So it's nice to see him and Dak staying on the same page for once. But man, this kid, he is blossoming into, I'm going to say it. The fan, you can disagree with me, but he's a top 5 receiver right now. He's in the Pro Bowl for a reason. I mean, he's cooking top corners, whether it was Bradbury, it was Darius Slay, guys in the slot. He was giving him all the business. He was tucking in that chain, in motion, tucks in the chain, runs a route, scores a touchdown. I mean, it was just smooth. I mean, he is rocking it with confidence right now. So CeeDee Lamb, just another terrific performance. We're going to need that from him, but he was born for this. He's born to wear 88, and this is why. This is why I'm saying he's a top 5 receiver, because when you need him most, he steps up. That's exactly what he did. But, we always can't end the offensive talk without talking about Mr. Prescott. And, the stats look good. This is what's frustrating about Dak for me. 27 of 35, pretty good completion percentage there. He had 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 1 pick. So pretty good stat line there. But gosh, the turnovers just continue to happen, and it's just not this just cannot keep going. The 1 pick today was a pick 6, puts us back in the hole 10-0. And maybe with a Jalen Hurts led team, we don't come back. Like, that's just, and it's not even like a bad pick or like a good pick, where it's like you throw a ball deep, it gets picked off out of bounds. Okay, whatever. But it's like you threw the ball right into Josh Sweat's hands when you had Dalton Schultz wide open in the flat for an easy 8 to 10 yard gain. All you got to do is lob it over his head. There's no defender, so you can take something off your throw. And I don't know what you were thinking. You threw it right in his hands. Just that can't happen. We paid you $75 million last season alone. And now you're leading the NFL in turnovers since you've been back from injury. How can we expect that? How can we trust you? How can the team trust you to take care of the ball? Right? Again, Cooper Rush was in. I'm not saying he can make the throws that you make, but he sure took care of the ball, right? He took care of the ball. And that's why it was so beautiful to watch for me, because we're playing carefree football, complementary football with our defense, which I will get to shortly. But you just can't make those kind of interceptions. And you got lucky again with another fumble, right? It just so happens that Biotish jumps on it, but it looked like we lost it, and that was going to lose the game for us. It's these turnover. You have the turnover bug, Dak, and this is scary to me as a quarterback. So you can't be doing this. This cannot be kept up. You got to think of it this way now, right? We're 2 games back of the Eagles with 2 games to play. The odds of them losing two, pretty slim, even with Minshew at quarterback. So for the most part, you're pretty set as the 5 seed now. So you got to think of this as like 2 games to get yourself right and take off once the playoffs start. That's what I'm looking at right now. And I'm not seeing any sign of you cleaning up the turnovers. It's not like your picks are like deflected, or it's like, it's like straight at guys, wide open interceptions for the other team. That can happen. And let's move to the fourth quarter. And this is why it's so frustrating too for me. Right? You're a well-known quarterback, a veteran in this league now. You got a big contract, and you got to be the worst quarterback at clock management late in the game, right? Defense gets you a big turnover, Deron Bland, huge pick, just rips the ball out of Quez Watkins. Now we can run out the clock, right? Before the 2-minute warning. So Kellen Moore, again, I ripped on him, but he had a great play call. Caught a read option. Dak makes the right read, keeps it, gets the first down, but goes out of bounds with 2 minutes and 1 second left. So you're telling me you get the first down. All you got to do there, first off, get tackled inbounds, take a knee, lie down, just stay in bounds. Stay in bounds and hang on to the ball, because you want that clock to hit the 2-minute warning with the Eagles having 3 timeouts. And by you going out of bounds, one, you keep them from now they have all their timeouts still, and they have the 2-minute warning. So you're giving them almost an extra timeout to stop you. All right. So that you already messed up once there. That's a huge mistake. Now let's move to the next play. Now at 2:01, I like this call by Kellen Moore, right? You got the 2-minute warning the next play. Let's call a pass, right? Why not? The clock's going to stop regardless. So he calls a play action boot, and nobody's open. Nobody's open, right? And they always say, when you're in these late game situations, it's better to take a sack. But in this very moment, the worst thing you can do is take a sack outside of a turnover, because the 2-minute warning is coming up. You already know the clock is going to get stopped. So if nobody's open, just throw it away. The clock's going to stop regardless. Don't take a sack and lose 10 yards, right? I mean, just and then the next play, it's like Pollard gets outside, a good run, but without the sack, he scores a touchdown and the game's over. We would have been up 2 scores. It's like, that's the kind of things that just frustrate me watching this guy play quarterback. We pay him the big bucks. Fine, Dak, you want the big bucks, but we're going to ask you to do a lot. And if you can't deliver, you're going to get criticized. I don't know what it is about the NFL that just doesn't give you the criticism that you deserve, that all these other quarterbacks are getting, right? But I'm here as a Cowboys fan. I'm telling you the truth. Like, if you get the big bucks, I expect you to manage the clock well. I expect you to do these things. I expect you to take care of the ball. I expect you to be able to lead our team in clutch victories. I expect you to be the face of our team, which you're not, because Michael Parsons is. So that's my deal with Dak. That's the 2 things. You turn the ball over too much, and you manage clock management poorly. Probably the worst two things as a quarterback. But at the end of the day, he got the win. So congrats, Dak. I'll give you my props. But Cooper Rush is on the bench just waiting his turn. All right, but let's just move to the defensive side of the ball. And this is a little concerning because Jalen Hurts is not playing, and we got Gardner Minshew, and Minshew mania absolutely went off. 24-40, 355 yards passing. I know he had 2 picks, and he probably should have had more because he missed a couple throws. But yeah, defense, the corners, it's concerning because we don't have obviously Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, our 2 and 3 corners. Trayvon Diggs had a pretty rough game, was getting baited on the double moves. It shows in the stat sheet. Devontae Smith, 8 catches, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. AJ Brown had 103 yards receiving. Dallas Goedert was mossing everybody. Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, J-Ron Curse, he was giving them the business. So it's a little concerning on the outside. We just need to find that outside corner because to Ron Bland, who possibly made the play of the game, right, rips the ball out of Quez Watkins with a chance to tie for the Eagles. He is blossoming into a star on this team, but he's found a role as that slot corner in the nickel package, right? If Nashawn Wright or somebody not named Kelvin Joseph can step up to be the number 2 guy the rest of the year on the outside, that's what we're going to need because we want to keep Deron Bland in the nickel package. So I need to find that guy. And I got 2 weeks to figure it out. Maybe it's Kelvin Joseph. Maybe it's Nashawn Wright. Maybe it's one of those guys we signed, a couple weeks ago. Trayvon Mullen. I don't know. But we got to find that outside guy because we got to keep Deron Bland in the slot because that's where he is just growing on us. What's also concerning is the pressure, right? I know the Eagles are known for their line. They got Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, but you're telling me you got no sacks? No sacks. We're not playing Jalen Hurts too. Yes, Minshew can move, but you got no sacks on Gardner Minshew. And you got 2 Pro Bowlers up front, Micah Parsons, D-Law. You got a blossoming star in Dorrance Armstrong. You got a hellacious front 7, D-line, and you get 0 sacks. That is not going to win games in the playoffs. Let me tell you that. When I'm talking about 0 sacks, I'm talking about Micah Parsons, right? You're, to me, our best player on the team, the face of the team. You're the star on defense especially, right? I need you, man. This is the 3rd, 4th game in a row you just really no-showed. So I need you when it comes to the playoffs, especially. You got to wreak havoc like how you were doing in the first half of the season, right? And maybe it's the fatigue, late in the season, but we need you, man. We need you to be a game changer because look at what Nick Bosa is doing in San Francisco. That's what I expect you to do. And you can do it better. I know you can. But that's why he's getting the recognition now, and you're not necessarily. He's figured something out, how to beat double teams, how to get to the quarterback. And now it's your turn to adjust. Adjust to what they're doing. They're throwing more, blocking down your side. They're helping on your side more, which is respect to you. But you got to take that next step and be the Von Miller, be the Lawrence Taylor, be J.J. Watt, whoever, in their prime, Aaron Donald. Be that type of guy and just dominate. And you got to do it when the game is on the line, right? I need you on that last drive to make a play. And you did make a play. It wasn't a sack, but I like the effort. But we got to get bigger plays throughout the game for you. Because without you, we ain't going nowhere. But, at the end of the day, the defense, it was so concerning. But you guys made the plays when it counted the most late in the game. We got the turnovers. Credit Mike McCarthy. I thought he was going to go for it on that last drive, but he kicks a field goal, which I thought was the right decision. You give the defense more room for error, right? Now you force Philadelphia to score a touchdown instead of just getting 30, 40 yards and kicking a game-tying field goal, right? And that was the difference in the game. And you guys buckled down in the red zone and locked it down when it counted the most. And that's what to me it's about, right? You make the plays when it counts the most in the playoffs, right? You can be the worst team all year, but if you get into the playoffs and you peak at the right time, hey, you'll be the Super Bowl champs. And that's our goal. So let's build on this. We got Tennessee coming up on Thursday this week, so a short week. But they're you can't take them lightly because they got King Henry. You know they're gonna run the ball with him, especially with Tannehill out. So I need to see that line take over the game on Thursday. And Dak, I just need you to take care of the ball, and we'll be fine. And then Philly will take care of itself. But let's focus on us. All right. But at the end of the day, we got to win. Enjoy the holidays because you guys did it. You guys won on Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So for that, I'm very, very happy. And I'm going to enjoy this win. So we'll see you. We'll see you next time on Thursday, Dallas. I'll be watching.
Man, UH basketball, what a Diamond Head Classic tournament it was. I'm sure as you guys know, UH had that crazy, crazy buzzer beating win against SMU in the Diamond Head Classic Championship on Christmas Eve. Probably one of the biggest shots in UH basketball history by Jovon McClanahan. But we want to talk about the rest of the tournament and how it went for UH. So let's go back to game one. So UH opens up against Pepperdine in the first round. It was a pretty nail-biting win. 76-70, the final. UH kind of, had control of this game early. It was a hot start, up by 14 at the half, but we let Pepperdine hang around. They just kind of clawed their way back, just hung around to the end. And UH had to, buckle it down late in the game with Jovon, our hero, doing a very nice job knocking down late game free throws. I think his stat line was he was 9 for 12 from the free throw line in that game. But really, the story of this game is you could see the balance and the firepower of UH in this game. Kamaka Hepa had 19 points, an efficient 7 of 11 from the field. Simuta Avea with 11 did a great job rebounding as well. He also had 10 rebounds, so a double-double. Jovon had 17. 9 of his points came from the line, so nice to see that. And then obviously our man scoring the basketball this year is Noel Coleman, who had 22 points in this game. So a very nice balanced attack in this game. The only concern to me was there was not a lot of production from the bench. We had 1 point from our bench from Harry Rulidev, Morsek, Justice Jackson, and Beyond Riley. So we needed to see more bench support, you could say, bench points. And this wasn't the case. It was really a starters, carrying, and Hepa and Coleman being the main two scorers on this team. They showed why they're, legit starters and a force to be reckoned with in the Big West Conference. But 76-70, you always want a good opening night win to get you into the semifinals. And in the semifinals, as we transition to game two, UH ended up going up against Washington State, who came up with a pretty tough victory against George Washington in their opening round matchup. But this game was really about Simuta Avea. Building off of that double-double he had in the first game, he comes out, he scores 19 points to lead the Rainbow Warriors. He goes 8 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from the three-point line. He was the guy because Coleman was a little off. Bernardo da Silva was quiet. Kamaka Hepa was quiet. We needed guys to step up, and guys like Samuta was there. Jovon was very efficient. He was 6 of 7 from the field, 4 for 4 from the line. So that'll always do, right? and you make your free throws, an efficient performance from Jovon. But really, this was kind of the coming out party for one of the UH bigs, and I'm talking about Morsek. Morsek, the 7-1 beast. Uh, he played 8 minutes in this game, did not score a point, but he had 6 rebounds in he had 6 rebounds in 8 minutes, right? That's a lot of rebounds, you ask me, but you could definitely feel his presence and his ability to shot block and also just to alter shots in the paint. He didn't have a block, but guys were altering their shots. You could tell he was a presence in the paint, and it was nice to see him and Beon Riley, being kind of that energizer bunny off the bench. He played a nice 14 minutes, gave us 5 points off the bench. So that's what you want to see, right? The bench being able to contribute a little bit, give the starters a nice break, and maintain that lead. But yeah, I think this was a great showing for Morsek. And, as we transition to the next game in the championship, we could see why. UH ends up beating Washington State 62-51, and we advance to the first ever championship game appearance for the University of Hawaii. And in that championship game, this is probably one of the craziest games in college basketball this year. UH ends up winning 58-57 at the buzzer. But this game was trouble early. Our guys, Samuta, Noel, they got into foul trouble early. So they were pretty much non-existent for the first half. And we needed to see more guys off the bench, right? Harry Rulidiff came on early. He struggled. Justice Jackson came on early. He struggled. He got yanked. But the guys who stepped up, Morsek again, with his coming out party in this game, my goodness, 13 minutes off the bench, had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he was a force because SMU is a very long, lanky team, so we needed that size to counter SMU, right? Harry, kind of a finesse big, pick and pop kind of guy, but he's a little too, I could say not mobile, I guess, not enough speed from him, and we allowed guys to get beat off the dribble. So it wasn't really a good matchup for him. So that's why Morsek's minutes were huge for us. And obviously, Beon Riley coming in, he played 26 minutes, had 13 points off the bench. And with Samuta being in foul trouble, and really kind of just struggling throughout the game, he was huge, 13 points. He was kind of the guy that was starting the rally for us. And really kept us in the game in that first half and the second half, made timely shots. But in that second half, UH, they were struggling. We were struggling early, and the guy who brought us back, which was nice to see, was our starting big, Bernardo da Silva, who finished with 13 points. But his aggressiveness in the second half was absolutely huge. I mean, he was huge for us. Because we didn't get anything going. Noel Coleman was really struggling, for the first half because he wasn't playing. He was in foul trouble. He did have 9 points, but just wasn't having that Noel Coleman impact. So the fact that Bernardo was able to kind of weather the storm was huge. But I don't think anybody cares about this part, right? We only want to talk about what happened at the end because that was really the story of the game. So UH, we have the ball, we're down 2, and there's about 30 seconds left. We're down 2, so keep that in mind. And off the timeout, right, the ball is inbounded to Jovon at the top of the key, and we're just standing there. We wait maybe 10 seconds before our rotations start to move and to find their actual play. And by the time everything's going, it's like, what are you doing? You're just wasting 10 seconds. You want that time, especially when you're down in the game, because you have to account for, okay, if we miss, we still have at least a chance to foul extend the game. Like, we're not just going to live on a do or die shot at the end of the game. And that's what it seemed like they were doing, which was terrifying. And it came back to bite us because Noel Coleman dribbles the ball off his foot. And we're like, oh boy, here we go. This is it. But lo and behold, the basketball gods on Christmas were just good to us at the late game. SMU gets a 1-1. They miss, and Samuta Avea gets the ball and throws it away. Throws it away. So that to me was, I thought, this is the game. It's over. It was it's going to be a very tough second place finish because we thought we should have won this game. And SMU, okay, we go through it again, we foul, but they're still in the 1-1 situation, and they missed again. So SMU misses 2 1-1 chances to put us away, and they gave us a chance at the end of the game. And UH calls their last timeout, and they draw up a perfect play to allow Jovon to get a running start. And lo and behold, Jovon McClanahan, who is probably the big man on campus at this point, hits a on the run game-winning 3, and he got fouled, so it was a 4-point play. It's just like, wow. You need, like, as a fan being there at the game, you're just like in shock. You're screaming, but you don't even know what happened because it just happened so fast. Jovon hits the 3, gets fouled. So after the whole thing, kind of settles down, there's still 0.9 seconds left on the shot clock. So Jovon very smartly tries to intentionally miss the free throw attempt to allow time to run off the clock. And for some reason, the refs said that SMU gets a timeout. And what I don't understand is, how can you miss a free throw, get the rebound, and call timeout in under a second? That makes absolutely no sense to me. No sense. If somebody can figure that out for me, please tell me how that's possible. Because I truly don't know how you can do all of that in less than a second. But somehow the ref said he did. They get the timeout. They throw up a last-minute prayer. Hawaii wins. So it's just like everything happens so fast. But man, Jovon McClanahan, I gotta give it to you, man. I'm more of a Justice Jackson style kind of guy. I like the flair, the flash, but I got to give it up to you, man. You stepped up when we needed you most, right? In that first game, you were closing the game out for us, making late game free throws. And especially in this game, right? You're playing great defense at the end. You got a nice defensive stand, forcing a shot clock violation. And then obviously you hit the game winning 3. So I see the winning plays are starting to come with his play. So I have to give him credit for that. And he is a critical part to this team. I do think that Justice Jackson and other guys should get more minutes, but he is an important part to this team, and he showed his value throughout this tournament. So a well-deserved most outstanding tournament player award for Jovon McClanahan. And let's hope that we can build off of this momentum, because we won the first ever tournament championship in program history. So let's build off of this into conference play, because that's what counts. And we all know this team can do big things this year and make a run at the big dance. So let's enjoy this tournament win, and let's focus now to Big West play.